I had a client call me 3 months after his closing. See, he bought a condo in Toronto for $350,000. He literally thought he got the deal of a lifetime in this market. But listen to this. His maintenance fee alone was $960 a month. That's $11,520 a year before his mortgage even starts, before property taxes, and before a single utility bill is even issued. See, he found my YouTube channel after he made the purchase, so I wasn't able to guide him through the pitfalls of where he had actually purchased. And I do not want that to be you. These are 5 neighborhoods I walk every serious buyer through before they sign anything. My name is Shameer Arain. I'm a Toronto real estate broker, and I was born and raised in the city of Toronto. I've watched areas completely flip. Areas that were written off in the 1990s that are now worth 2 and 3 times more than anyone would have thought. And I've also watched the opposite happen. Areas that look promising on paper that have fallen flat for over a decade. 16 years as a real estate broker, hundreds of GTA transactions, honest, no fluff, market insight is what this channel is completely built on. A quick disclaimer before we even jump into it. Now, I'm not saying these areas have zero value. Some of them have real long-term arguments going for them. What I'm saying here is these are specific trade-offs most agents may not tell you before you even sign, but I will. All right, let's jump right into it. Area number 1, Jane and Finch, the Black Creek corridor. Here's the number that traps buyers all the time. Condos priced at $350,000 to $450,000 in Toronto. Now, that price absolutely gets people's attention fast, and I understand why. But here's what the numbers don't show you. These are a lot of older buildings. A lot of them were built in the 1970s and 80s, and that age carries a cost that most buyers don't look at closely enough unless it's too late. Maintenance fees. Now, we're talking $800, $900, sometimes even over $1,100 a month. Let's run the actual math here for a second. A $375,000 condo, $900 a month in maintenance fees, that's $10,800 a year before your mortgage, before property taxes, and before utilities. Now let's compare that to a buyer who paid $550,000 for a stronger area with a $450,000 maintenance fee. The monthly cost difference? Well, almost nothing. But the asset you're sitting on is completely different. One is completely building equity, and the other one, well, it's pretty much draining you. And that is a trap. And what looks affordable at the purchase price ends up costing you nearly the same monthly as buying somewhere stronger, except the appreciation has not kept up. Now, the infrastructure here isn't that bad, actually. The 400, 401, and 407 highways run close by. You have York University right there. The Finch West LRT is coming, and that is a real future catalyst. But the coming soon in Toronto real estate could mean you're holding on to a flat asset for another 10 to 15 years, waiting for that promise to come to fruition. For real buyers who need real equity movement in the next 5 to 7 years, this is not a strategy. This is a pure bet. Now stay with me for a second, because number 2 is what I hear from a lot of buyers that have already committed. Number 2, Rexdale. And here's a number that stops people all the time. Detached homes under $1 million and in Toronto. Still, I absolutely get it. In this market, that sounds literally like a lifeline. But 2 things come with it that most buyers don't find out until after they've actually signed. First, certain pockets of Rexdale, specifically around Jamestown and Thistletown, have consistently shown up in higher risk brackets in the Toronto police data for shootings and assaults. And look, I'm not asking you to take my word for it. This is a Toronto Police Service public crime mapping tool. I'm pulling it up right now so you can take a look at Rexdale. You can actually run this yourself. It's free, it's public, and it's updated regularly. Look at this concentration around Jamestown. Look at the assault and shooting data in this pocket specifically. This is not reputation, this is not a vibe, this is purely data. And this is exactly what I mean when I say most agents won't show you this before you even sign. And number 2, this one comes up over and over from buyers after closing. See, Rexdale sits directly under the Pearson Airport flight path. And I'm not talking about occasional planes overhead. I'm talking about consistent, repetitive noise throughout the day and into the early mornings. Planes taking off and planes landing consistently. I've had clients come back to me after purchasing in Rexdale saying, Shameer, I wish someone had told me this before I signed. Here's why that matters to you as an investment. It directly affects the resale pool. The moment a prospective buyer spends a Sunday afternoon here and realizes what they're dealing with, your pool shrinks immensely. And in a compressed market like today, where appreciation has slowed, you absolutely cannot afford a built-in discount on the way out. Now, the connectivity here is actually excellent. Again, you have the 401, 400, 427, and 407 highways all right there, and this is real. But you're trading that convenience for the flight path and crime data. Just think about that for a sec. The question is whether you fully understand what you're getting into before you commit, not 3 months after you move in. Here's my advice. Do not visit it on a Tuesday morning. Go on a Saturday afternoon or even a Sunday evening. You'll know exactly what I mean. Quick note here, if you're actively looking at the GTA right now and want to know where the actual value plays are in 2026, you can book a discovery call with me through the link in the description below. Now let's get back into it. Area number 3, Moss Park, specifically Dundas and Sherbourne intersection. Now here's the dangerous assumption buyers make here. They see downtown Toronto, minutes from the Eaton Centre, minutes from the financial district, transit literally everywhere, and they actually assume downtown automatically means safe investment. Well, I'm here to tell you it does not. Where you are in the downtown core matters more than the actual postal code. See, Dundas and Sherbourne is one of the most concentrated shelter and social services corridors in the city of Toronto. It's been like that for many years. High foot traffic, ongoing street activity, and it consistently registers as one of the high-risk intersections in the city on the Toronto Police data for assaults. Let me pull up the Dundas and Sherbourne intersection for you right here. See this? Versus what you get 3 blocks west or 3 blocks east towards Regent Park. This is why I say micro-location matters more here than anywhere else in the city of Toronto. The data literally changes block by block. The building that looks like a good deal might be sitting on the wrong side of that line. And this is where it actually gets dangerous for buyers. The nuance that gets people. A few blocks west of that intersection, we have newer condo developments, students, money coming in. A few blocks east, Regent Park, which has genuinely transformed over the past decade. The Daniels developments is a true Toronto success story. They have built several towers throughout this neighborhood and have made it a vibrant community for families alike. So what happens here? The pricing in the broader area starts to reflect the improved pockets around it. You can buy at a price point that assumes the upside of the neighborhoods surrounding you, and then find out your specific address performs completely different at resale, unfortunately. Micro locations matter here more than any part of the neighborhood in the city. Sometimes the exact building matters more than the neighborhood name itself. If anyone watching this video is looking at anything in that corridor, I want to walk those specific streets with you before a single dollar goes down. 3 down, and the next 2 are the ones that catch people most off guard all the time. Because on paper, both of them look completely fine. Good location, solid transit, reasonable price. No obvious red flags. The issue here is what's underneath the surface. So stay with me. Area number 4, Flemingdon Park, Don Mills, and Eglinton. Now, I'm gonna say this up front. This is the most debatable one on the list because the location case here is legitimately strong. DVP access is right there. Eglinton runs a whole corridor. You're not far from Midtown or downtown. Major redevelopment is happening around the shops at Don Mills and the complete redevelopment right at Don Mills at Eglinton. And also, let's not forget about the Eglinton and Crosstown LRT, which is supposed to completely transform the connectivity across this stretch of the city. So why is it here? Because the LRT, the single biggest infrastructure catalyst for this entire corridor, was originally scheduled to open in 2022. And great news, as of filming this in May 2026, it finally opened this past February 2026. This has been 4 years of buyers sitting on properties that were priced in anticipation of this catalyst finally arriving. On top of that, the building stock in Flemingdon is quite old. 1960s and 1970s high-rise towers carrying the same maintenance fee problems we talked about at Jane and Finch. The environment here is heavily rental, not ownership. The demand hasn't responded to location fundamentals the way it has for other corridors with the same or worse access. There have been several new condos that have popped up within the area that have gentrified and will continue gentrifying for many years to come on the flip side. That being said, this is definitely a long-term play and hold for any investor or any end user. Number 5, Malvern and Scarborough. And I already know what the comments are going to say because every time I mention Malvern, I hear people who live there and want to push back. And some of the comments, well, they're not wrong. Here's the honest case for Malvern. Detached homes are generally more accessible on price than most parts of the city. The 401 highway is closed, transit is absolutely solid, and the reputation, well, some of it is more extreme than the ground level reality. Long-term residents will actually tell you it's a real community. And you know what? They're absolutely right. But here's why it still makes this list and comes down to 2 specific things. First, a lot of the older apartment stock around the main intersection or near Malvern Mall carries the same density problem we've talked about throughout the entire video. Older buildings and high maintenance fees are relative to the price point, slower appreciation, and limited ownership culture. It's not the entire neighborhood, I should say, but it definitely drags the perception of the surrounding area. And that perception affects how the whole pocket behaves at resale. And let me bring you to the second thing. And this one actually matters most for your investment. See, in real estate, perception is reality at the transaction level. I don't care whether the perception is completely fair. What matters is what happens when you go to sell. Your buyer pool is already hesitating before even seeing your listing. That hesitation shows up in longer days on market, and longer days on market shows up in lower final price. And in a market where perception has been compressed through 2025 and into 2026, you definitely cannot afford a built-in discount on top of everything else. For a patient, long-term hold investor, well, Well, there's an argument to be made here, and I'll give you that. For a typical buyer trying to build real equity over the next 5 to 7 years, Malvern carries more risk than that entry price implies. Drop your comments below because I genuinely want some pushback on this one. Here's what I want you to take from this. Remember that client I mentioned in the very start, the $350,000 condo, $960 a month maintenance fees? He didn't at all make a reckless decision. He's not unintelligent. He saw an accessible price in Toronto, which is genuinely rare right now. And he assumed that any GTA property is a safe long-term hold. Well, you know what? It's not. Every area I walked you through today has some version of the same trap. Looks accessible on entry, carries hidden costs, appreciation that hasn't kept up, and a narrow exit when you actually need to move. What I want to say is you don't need the most expensive neighborhood. You need the right neighborhood for your specific situation. And that's a conversation I genuinely want to have with you. If this video gave you value, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment below. Which area actually surprised you the most? And which one do you disagree with? I read each and every single one of them. I'm Shameer Arain, and we'll catch you at the next one.